Hello and welcome to Russ's Movie Corner. My name is Russ, and as you can see, I'm sitting in front of my movie corner. Now, I don't have a movie over here because I'm doing something a little bit different. This is also going to be kind of with the Russ Plays Games side of things, where we are discussing Dungeon Party. This was a cool little thing I saw last year when the pandemic first started. I was kind of just, kind of thinking around on Kickstarter because I was waiting for the Sword and Sorcery Ancient Chronicles to get done, actually. And when they shut down production in China back in like January, February time frame in China before the pandemic really hit over here in the United States, um, it was I was kind of like, okay, what am I gonna do? And so I backed this fun little um, uh, this fun little party game, and it was basically, if you think of it like this, take a role playing game, kind of like a Munchkin style role playing game, okay, and take that and set it to the bar game of quarters. You get Dungeon Party. This is the Kickstarter exclusive coin bounce mat for Dungeon Party. Basically, what this game does, quite unique. It has an interesting mechanic where you basically bounce quarters at various monsters that try to kill them. And depending on how your quarter lands on the monster is how much damage it does, and you'll get certain treasures that you can have that will bring all of your totals up to the max. And so, anyway, I guess I should show this off before I just open it up. But basically, this is the Furious Orc, which I believe was the first tier or the second tier. I backed the third tier, which was known as the Floating Eye. So this was one of the first two tiers. I believe this was the first tier, and I believe the Happy Troll was the second tier. But basically, how this works is, um, you get a pretty cool little rule book, of course, which kind of tells you exactly how to play. So in this Furious, or in the Furious Orc version, there are character coasters, which are who you play as. There are monster coasters, there are room coasters, and there are treasure coasters, and then there are dungeon coasters, which give you kind of an overall score for your whatever dungeon you're playing in. So you choose a certain dungeon, and then like certain rooms are what you use for that particular dungeon, I believe. So like, their character types, they have dwarves and they have different things. So like, yeah, the dungeon selected at the beginning of the game, it shows the dungeon title, Wizard's Tower, Dungeon of Dread, Goblin Cave, etc. Tells the story of the dungeon on the backside. And then when you flip it, it outlines how many encounters per level there are. So like at level 1, there might be 2 encounters or whatever. And so it'll be like 1 room, 1 monster, 1 treasure per encounter, including which boss monster to use. And then 4 gives any special rules. And then you have, of course, your monster tiles. And then you have your room coasters, and then your treasure coasters, which the treasure coasters give you, like, for example, the spirit shield that they have right here blocks 1 damage for the target of the spell for a battle. So if there's a monster that has a spell that when you flip it and it lands on there, then you get to block 1 damage. So depending on how many players you want, you have a total number of character cards that you're going to use for it. And then you create like the level 1 encounter, you would create the number. So for the stack for each one of these, then you would put in your level 1, you'd have your room, monster, and then the treasure for that monster. And then for level 1 encounter 2, you'd have the level 1 room, level 1 monster, level 1 treasure, level 2 through 5 in the same order, and then down to the boss encounter, which you would have your boss room, your boss monster, and your treasure. Okay. And then basically you reveal the room and the monster. And then whatever the room does, that's, if there's like a trap or if there's some kind of a special effect that the room has, then you do that. Then you battle the monster. Each player, starting with the hero, going clockwise around the table, will take turn bouncing the coin in an attempt to hit the monster. When it is a player's turn to attack, they will bounce the coin on the table towards the monster's coaster. If the coin lands on the monster's coaster, then the monster is hit and takes damage. And then if you kill the monster, if you end up killing it, so you go around in turn, if you're the one that kills the monster, then you get to recover the treasure. And then, of course, some rooms have traps, blah, blah, blah. And then they have optional drinking rules, or if you are hit, you drink. Won't be playing that because I don't drink. But anyway, so yeah. And then you can also play, they have some rules. That's the rules. And then just to kind of show you, you also get some D6s, and these are glow in the dark, which are kind of nice. And then you get a D20, which certain dungeon rooms and certain things like that will have. So here's one of the dungeon tiles. It's called Dungeons Are Stupid. Says, your life as an adventurer has a magnificent, storied past. You've defeated the vilest of monsters, rescued the fairest damsels, and recovered enough treasure to keep you in ale and tobacco for the rest of your life. So why on earth would you follow the old, hey, I know where there's a dungeon full of treasure and no monster story? Especially from a humpbacked witch who burns her hands? With burns on her hands? Who knows? But at least it sounds better than another round of axe throwing tonight. So in this one, you actually only build a dungeon with levels 1, 2, 3, and 4. You have no boss monster. But to win, the players must successfully build a 3-story house from the coasters used in this dungeon, at least 2 coasters wide at the base within 2 minutes. So you can kind of see that these guys are, they're doing something here that is really cool. Oh, and then there's also a special dungeon party coin that you can get in the Furious Orc as well. So there you go. They had a lot of humor with this one. So like, here's the Dungeon of Dread. And that was one of the ones that they had in there. So yeah, they have a whole bunch of really cool things. Yeah, here's an elf thief, an elf druid. So these are your character cards. Yeah. So the number up here in the corner is how much damage you can take. And I believe the number over here is, I think it's their character number. Anyway, and then there's a room card. The Wizard's Quarters. It has 2 treasures instead of 1. So when you build the room with this one in it, then you put 2 treasure cards with it. So there's a whole bunch of different. You can kind of see there's a whole bunch of different tiles and stuff in here that will keep you in stitches for a long time. And in actuality, I mean, I saw this game, and it was funny because the whole point of it was they had a bunch of guys cosplaying, and they had this one person walk up, and they were like, have you ever gone to the bar for a rousing round of Dungeons and Dragons, only to get, only to have something happen, and so you end up not playing, and so the only thing that you do left is quarters. And so they said, hey, why don't we just take the 2 and mix them? And that was kind of the whole idea behind Dungeon Party is, their tagline here is, can your party survive the dungeon? Will you be the hero? You choose your character, battle monsters, avoid dangerous traps, collect treasure. Dungeon Party is an easy-to-learn, raucous, play-anywhere social role-playing game where rooms, monsters, treasures are all on posters. Players take turns bouncing coins to hit the monsters, disarm traps, or avoid cursed rooms. Players work together to survive the dungeon and gather the most loot, where there can be only one winner. So similar to um, uh, yeah, the Furious Orc was the first one. Because this one is just extra room party, you know, room character treasure. Like here's a treasure card, the Helm of Brilliance, and it's may change the result of a coin toss to heads because that also matters. If you bounce the coin and it lands heads up, then that does something. So here again, I haven't read all the rules. This was, kind of a work in progress for a long time. So, but they had a lot of fun just kind of coming up with brand new, party tiles and different things like that. And like I said, I backed the floating eye, which was like $80. And so not only did I get, like all three of these, so I got the Furious Orc, the Happy Troll, and the Floating Eye, but I also got, this mat, and I got this add-on pack, which was like a couple of things. I'll show you when we get to it here in a second, um, but anyway, so yeah, the original Kickstarter for Dungeon Party had a whole bunch of people just kind of, having this rousing, game of quarters around and playing it, and then they were showing that, it's like they took the idea of quarters where you're kind of like, here again, you're bouncing the quarter off of a coaster similar to this and trying to bounce it into your glass. They thought, well, what if we had other coasters? And so we were trying to bounce the coins off of, like, say, character coasters onto, say, monster coasters. And then they kind of, that kind of became their idea. And then that idea ended up coming full circle into the the dungeon party game here. And so yeah, um, here's a druid spell where you can actually use this for your druid character. Removes the negative. This one's unnatural. It removes the negative effects of a room. Um, there's there's a monster, gargoyles, stuff like that. So um, there's some different like here's a bigger monster of an ogre, just so you can kind of see their a little bit different monster types. Um, there's a phoenix, and it has a special rebirth. When killed, reborn with 6 HP. So you have to continually, kick the shit out of it. Um, so yeah, there's a Ratman card, and there's a whole bunch of different, little. Yeah, here's another treasure, a holy sword. +1 damage, +4 versus undead and evil monsters. So, you have different types of things. And fly, any magic user. Magic user may escape from a battle if they wish. And flaming sword, +2 damage, +4 versus orcs. Or no, sorry, +2 damage, +4 versus trolls, slimes, and treemen. So there's a little flaming. And then it's a fighter ranger card, and then here's a boss in Underworld Portal. And it says place this coaster adjacent to the boss coaster. Coin land here, it is lost in the portal, and the player cannot attack again. So they're done for a certain. That's a boss. That's a boss room card. So you can see it's a room card, but the little box up here in the corner lets you know that it's a boss room. So yeah, here's a hellhole which has 2 monsters in it. So yeah, each room effect can have certain things. Like here's another boss room of a sunken fairy mound. Says after a character successfully hits, their next attack is at +2 damage, but then they lose their next turn. So if they hit, then they get to do more damage, but then they lose a turn, so they could miss out on potentially getting the treasure, because if they don't kill the monster, the boss monster, then the other person could end up killing it. And here's a deep cavern. It's a cursed room. It says generosity. First to miss must buy a stranger a drink. So yeah, they have some really interesting ones in here. There's a lot of really cool effects. Like here's the subterranean reservoir. Staff of lightning, holy sword, flaming sword, and any magic weapons have no effect in this room. So yeah, there's a you can kind of see the artwork on these are really good, and they have a really nice feel to them. They have sort of a satiny finish on them. So they're not like, I mean, they feel like they're hefty like a normal coaster. They're thicky. You can see how thick these are, but they're not like a typical coaster, if that makes sense. They're not as thin as something you get as like an Applebee's or something like that. These were built to last. Okay. That being said, don't use them as actual coasters, because if you're going to play the game, then you probably ought to just stick with this. But definitely make sure that that you have what you need. Um, so yeah, there's just a whole bunch of really neat, like here's a human samurai character, and again, the artwork on him is really good. Um, there's even a ninja. They're a thief fighter hybrid, which is kind of what a ninja is. Um, monk, cleric, fighter. It's actually, they look kind of like a nun. So there's a human paladin character. There's a whole bunch of them in there. I'll have to go through and kind of look at all of them. And they've got they got like a half elf magic user. They've got bards, dwarven paladins. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of interesting monsters and characters and different things. Horn of annoying noise. The owner of this horn must start every battle with an annoying horn noise. So that means that whoever has this equipped to them, okay, has to literally, like, every time they start a battle, they would have to be like, or something like that, and make some kind of an annoying noise. Magic chainmail blocks 1 damage per hit, kind of stuff like that. So there's a whole bunch of different stuff that they have in here. Magic hammer for the cleric, plus 3 damage for an entire battle. Opal ring, um, reveal, like you gain an extra treasure. Another spirit shield, magic lock picks, magic sling. There's a succubus monster. It's an evil demon, and so it's quite noticeably an actual succubus. And then there's just different things. So yeah, they have a whole bunch of different, you know, they did a whole bunch with this. I really got to say that they went all out on this dungeon party. And I mean, when I saw some of the concept art for some of their dungeon, um, some of the different rooms, some of the different things that they had, I was rolling because it was funny. Um, it kind of reminds me of like Munchkin. If you've ever played the card game Munchkin, I mean, who hasn't? And that's kind of what it reminded me of, was what if Munchkin met Quarters? And that's like one of the things that I kind of looked at. So as you can see, I got a second Dungeon Party coin bounce mat, and what's really cool is I got this exclusive glow in the dark hero figure. Okay. This was actually a Kickstarter exclusive. And so this was, he was a much different, thing. And so I was actually kind of like, wow, that was actually kind of cool. And that was one of the things that kind of made me want to back it, was when they kind of said, like, hey man, we're looking at giving people, um, you know, really interesting, things, and giving them, some interesting Kickstarter exclusives if you back now. And I went, well, heck yes, why wouldn't I? And we also have a whole bag of Dungeon Party quarters that you can play the game with. And they came with a nice little cloth bag, which you can also use to put the dice that are in here plus the quarter um, into this bag, and then you have now you have two coin bounce mats, because you got one for backing the Kickstarter and then one for the add-on for if you, I think it was if you backed the Furious or the Happy Troll and the um, Floating Eye. I think you got the add-on. You got this add-on pack. If you just backed the Furious Arc, I don't think you got it. If you did, leave it below. Let me know, because I'm gonna throw this up on Board Game Geek, and so if you happen to know that that's what happens, let me know. If you got this add-on pack, okay? You backed Furious Orc and you got the add-on pack. Or if you backed Happy Troll and you didn't get the add-on pack, then let me know. Because I don't have my phone in front of me, so I don't remember exactly what levels got the add-on packs, but I believe it was Happy Troll and it was Floating Eye. And I figured, well, if I'm already, I mean, because it was like 59 for the Floating Eye, and it was like 69 or 79 for the Happy Troll. I mean, for the not the Happy Troll, the Happy, yeah, the Happy Troll, and then it was like for 59 for the Happy Troll, and then it was for the Floating Eye, it was like 79. And I thought, well, for $20 more, why would I not just go for it? Like why would I not just back the full thing and then get it then? So yeah, I'm super excited to kind of bust these puppies out, considering that as I'm doing this, it is almost Christmas. And these actually just got shipped here in the United States. The funny thing is, I actually just checked this morning. It was either yesterday or today. I checked this and it said in transit, and I just was like, okay, whatever. And so I think it was yesterday. And so, yeah, so I was not expecting this second. Like I was actually kind of surprised. But yeah, I mean this is kind of nice that you get that cool little thing for it. So yeah, that is Dungeon Party, the hilarious coin bouncing role playing game. Would this be something that you would buy? Because I I'll tell you this much. I don't know if they're planning on selling this retail. And if they do, I know it's probably going to contain, like, I don't know that it will contain a quarter, like a Dungeon Party quarter in the Happy Troll. Or, I mean, in the Furious Orc, I mean. This one. I don't know if it will contain that or not, but um, I don't know if they're going to do a. I don't know if they're going to do anything for that. Um, And so I would hope so, because I would hope that people could get this, because I mean this is hilariously funny. Um, because like I said, it just reminded me of like Munchkin, and a fun game called like Quarters, where you have all these little things around and you're bouncing quarters, and you can either use the bounce mats or you can use the actual coaster. So you can actually use your character coaster, or one of your, like, if you have a magical item treasure or a spell or something, I think you can bounce your quarter off of the your mat there, and or your coaster, and then you can try to get that to land on there. So you don't have to damage a table if you're going to play this, if you know what I mean. But this is something that, here again, you could throw it in a bag, take it with you. So, yeah, I mean, if you back this, let me know. Drop a comment below. Like I said, I'm going to post this up on Board Game Geek and kind of let me know what you thought of it. So, this is Russ for Russ Plays Game and Russ's Movie Corner. Keep it locked here. I've gotten some ideas on what I might be doing um, for some things. I was hoping that I could go see the Matrix Revolutions. Sorry, not the Matrix Revolutions. That was the third one. The Matrix Resurrections. And then I'm also hoping to go see Spider-Man No Way Home. And if I see both of those, I'll throw up some reviews and kind of show you what I thought of it, and just kind of go from there. Otherwise, just keep it locked here. I've got some other Let's Plays I'm going to be working on, finishing up the Final Fantasy II Let's Play, and I'm trying to get the there's a new mobile app that just came out like a week or so ago, and it's called Final Fantasy VII: The First Soldier. And basically, what it is it is a battle royale game set in the Final Fantasy VII universe. You are trainees of the soldier program under Shinra. It takes place like 30 or 40 years prior to the events of Final Fantasy VII and Crisis Core and all of that. It's like way before that. It was like Shinra and kind of was like in the process of building Midgar, and like, so like one of the arenas that you drop into is like some of the underground sectors where you're actually like, where in the normal game you're blocked from above by the plates, but in this game the plates don't extend out that far yet. And so you still have a lot of natural daylight. So, but it's, the degradation of the fields has already begun, because them pulling out the Mako reactor, the Mako reactor sucking up all the Mako energy. And what's really cool is, when you're out in the field, you can actually fight monsters. There is actual monsters out in the field. And if you kill certain monsters, you can earn guild rewards, you can earn experience, you level up as you grab materia around the world. You can then, you can level up your materia kind of like you did in Crisis Core if you played that for the PSP. So yeah, it's a fun game, and there's like machine guns, there's pistols. Um, it's just a raucous good time because you just get to run out into the field and you get to take down a whole bunch of other Shinra students and different people, and you just and pop, 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 just knock them all down and keep on running. It's a fun game, so if I can get it working. I mean, it's working on my phone. The problem is it's not recording my voice on it, and I don't want to have to record myself twice, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't want to be talking when I'm not actually, doing anything. And then have to go back and try to like record an entire audio track for it. So we'll see what happens. If I can't, then I have to do it that way. But otherwise, let's hope we can do it. So anyway, keep it locked here for Russ's Movie Corner, and I will see you next time.